In the years following World War II, the oceans of the world became silent battlegrounds of tension rather than open warfare. Nations watched each other carefully, knowing that the next conflict might not begin with an explosion, but with a warning radar signal or a missile launch. In the middle of this uneasy new era, the United States Navy introduced a ship that symbolized the transition from big gun warfare to the age of guided missiles. That ship was USS Boston, known by its designation CAG-1, and its story is one of innovation, power, and a navy adapting to a rapidly changing world. USS Boston was originally laid down as a heavy cruiser during World War II, at a time when naval battles were dominated by massive guns and armor. She was launched in 1946, too late to see combat in the global conflict that inspired her construction. Instead of war, she entered a world reshaped by nuclear weapons, jet aircraft, and long-range missiles. Traditional cruisers, once kings of the sea, were suddenly at risk of becoming obsolete. The Navy faced a critical question: how could existing ships remain relevant in an era where speed, detection, and missile power mattered more than sheer firepower? Boston became the answer to that question. Rather than scrapping the ship or leaving her trapped in an outdated role, the Navy selected USS Boston for a radical transformation. She would become the first guided missile cruiser in the world. This was not a simple upgrade, it was a complete rethinking of what a warship could be. Massive gun turrets were removed, internal spaces were rebuilt, and cutting-edge electronics were installed. When the conversion was complete, USS Boston emerged as something entirely new, a hybrid vessel combining traditional naval strength with futuristic missile technology. Commissioned as CAG-1 in 1955, USS Boston carried Terrier surface-to-air missiles, designed to protect fleets from enemy aircraft. At a time when jet bombers could deliver nuclear weapons, air defense was no longer optional. Boston's missile system gave her the ability to detect, track, and destroy aerial threats far beyond the reach of conventional guns. This capability changed naval strategy forever. Fleets no longer relied solely on fighter aircraft for protection, ships themselves became guardians of the sky. Life aboard USS Boston was unlike anything sailors had experienced before. Radar rooms hummed with electronic activity, missile crews trained constantly, and the ship's officers studied a new kind of warfare where screens and signals mattered as much as binoculars and rangefinders. Every patrol was a test, not only of the ship's systems, but of the Navy's ability to master this new technology. Mistakes could not be tolerated, because in a nuclear age, reaction time could mean survival. As the Cold War intensified, USS Boston became a visible symbol of American power and technological leadership. She sailed across the Atlantic and Pacific, participating in major fleet exercises and NATO operations. Her presence sent a clear message: the United States was prepared to defend its allies with advanced weapons and disciplined crews. Boston was not just a ship, she was a moving statement of deterrence. The guided missile cruiser also served as a learning platform. Engineers and tacticians closely studied her performance, identifying weaknesses and opportunities for improvement. Lessons learned aboard USS Boston directly influenced the design of future missile cruisers and destroyers. In many ways, she was a floating laboratory, shaping the future of naval warfare with every mile she sailed. When conflict erupted in Southeast Asia, USS Boston found herself deployed to the waters near Vietnam. Although designed primarily for air defense, she proved her versatility by providing naval gunfire support for troops on the ground. Her guns, though fewer than before her conversion, delivered accurate and devastating fire against enemy positions. The combination of missiles and guns made her a flexible and valuable asset, capable of adapting to the demands of a complex and unconventional war. For the sailors aboard her, Vietnam was a harsh reminder that even the most advanced technology could not remove the dangers of war. Long deployments, tense moments at general quarters, and the constant awareness of enemy threats defined daily life. Yet morale remained strong, driven by pride in serving aboard a ship that represented the cutting edge of naval power. As the 1960s progressed, technology continued to evolve at a rapid pace. New missile systems, improved radar, and more efficient ship designs began to surpass what USS Boston could offer. She was no longer the most advanced cruiser in the fleet, but her importance did not fade. Instead, she became a bridge between generations, a reminder of how far naval warfare had come in just a few decades. Eventually, the Navy faced the difficult decision to retire USS Boston from active service. Decommissioned in 1970, her days of patrolling the world's oceans came to an end. But her story did not conclude there. Recognizing her historical significance, the ship was preserved rather than dismantled. USS Boston was transformed into a museum ship, allowing future generations to walk her decks and learn about the early days of missile warfare at sea. Today, visitors who step aboard USS Boston experience more than steel and machinery. They encounter a moment in history when the world stood at the edge of a technological revolution. The missile launchers, radar arrays, and control rooms tell the story of a Navy adapting to a new reality, where the threat could arrive from the sky in seconds rather than hours. USS Boston's legacy extends beyond her physical structure. She proved that innovation could extend the life and relevance of existing ships. She demonstrated the power of guided missiles in naval defense. And most importantly, she helped shape the doctrines and designs that still influence modern warships today. From her origins as a traditional cruiser to her rebirth as the world's first guided missile cruiser, USS Boston represents a turning point in naval history. She was a ship born too late for one war and perfectly timed for another kind of struggle, a silent standoff that defined an entire era. Her story is not just about steel and weapons, but about adaptation, foresight, and the relentless push toward the future. As long as her decks remain open and her story is told, USS Boston will continue to remind us that history is not only written in battles, but in bold decisions that change the course of warfare forever.